She is the founder of a Los Angeles-based mental health initiative. It's called Mental Visions. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Jazlen Green.
I'm like, is it a queen? Now that's it. Y'all don't know that? Von Queefy? No? Come on, y'all outdated. Anyway, before I get started, I just want to take this time personally to thank Major, the owner of Culture Shock Creatives, his entire team, Lou, Jalen, Dennis, everybody who's a part of this production. Like, this is amazing. I don't think you guys understand how important it is for us to have these spaces and to come together. And they worked so hard. They were exhausted and tired, but still showed up. The communities, the vendors, live performers, anybody who's a part of this, just know that this is really, a part of a bigger purpose. Even you guys as the audience members, like, give yourself a round of applause because this means a lot. This means a lot. Let me take off my glasses. So, my name is Jazlen Green. I'm the founder and owner and creator of Mental Vision. It is a mental wellness company bridging the gap between awareness and creativity to action when it comes to mental health awareness. This story, this evening that I'll be using is to talk about purpose and awareness, not just for the sake of mental health awareness, but for society. I'm gonna share a little bit of enlightenment, wisdom, knowledge that I've gotten from my experience, my journey, the reason why I built my company, and in hopes to inspire everyone to walk out of here to take action, because awareness without action is just a waste of time. So, I also just want to trigger a warning to anybody. I don't want to offend nobody. I'm going to be sharing my personal story, and it could relate to anybody any kind of way. So it's not my intention to make anybody feel, sad or triggered in any kind of way. I also trigger warning for myself because I'm sharing a personal journey, and it is very emotional as well. So let me take my time and let me allow y'all to take y'all time. To start this, I want you all to close your eyes, if you can. Close your eyes and imagine yourself in this story as the protagonist, the character. See the environment, feel the feelings, be as imaginative as possible. So one day you wake up in a hotel room, and while you're in the hotel room, not because of vacation, but because this is the only place that felt safe enough. When you wake up, you feel like a 100-pound plate is on your chest, like a heart attack. You never had one before. So you call the ambulance, the paramedics come, they run some tests, they decide to take you to the hospital. You go to the hospital, shortly after you're discharged. This particular hospital is about a 45-minute walk from your parents' house. You decide to take the 45-minute walk. When you arrive to the address, everything feels unfamiliar and unknown. The people inside, the location, even yourself, unfamiliar. You walk into the house, you decide to take a nap, and when you wake up, you think you feel better, you're clear. So you decide to take your nephew to a park. He was 4 years old at this time. You guys go to the park, you arrive at this fence, you jump over the fence, leaving your nephew on the other side. You walk away in your own world, not thinking anything of it. Shortly after, you're off campus site, you're walking the streets, and your dad comes in a car, rushing, asking you what's wrong. You just left your nephew in the park. You're convinced you didn't do anything like that, but you did. He's frantic, he's emotional, frustrated. It's a lot of things that he's feeling. He takes you back to the hospital. You arrive at the hospital, you're in the waiting room. You grow irritated, agitated, frustrated. You don't think anything is wrong with you. Shortly after, the cops arrive, and another shortly after, you're in the back of a cop car. And now you're headed down a freeway to an unknown location. When you get there, they take you in a waiting room, and they sit you down, they uncuff you, they walk out. You've never been here before. You're trying to figure out why you're there. You think that you have free will. You think you could just walk out of the front door. So you walk. And a moment, an inch away from outside, from fresh air, you're immediately bombarded by hands security guards, nurses, doctors, and anybody else who can restrain you. They take you to the back of this room, and they lay you down, and then they inject something in the bottom half of your body. You're sedated, you black out. When you wake up, you're in a psychiatric hospital. Now, for those of you who like to follow directions and pay attention, go ahead and open your eyes. So I asked y'all to imagine yourself in that story, but that was me 3 years ago. Now, my story didn't end like that, and it didn't start like that. I was born in Pomona, California, to a big, immediate, and extended family, which I'm grateful for. I love you guys. I grew up in the church, so I knew God. I know God, always. I was born with a neurological disorder labeled epilepsy. For those of you who do not know that, that is where I suffer from seizures, still to this day. I was faced with a lot of uncertainty, fragility in life at a very young age, but also humility. That taught me a lot about the world, how to love the world, how to love myself. I was bullied, misunderstood, told I was too emotional, sensitive, but I was a good kid. I was a really good kid. I didn't really cause many troubles, at least I don't think I did. Got good grades, awards, my teachers loved me. I started playing basketball at a very young age, thankful to my parents to, provide me with that opportunity. But I was a good kid with a good head on my shoulders. I just wanted to be great at everything I picked up. Art, basketball, being a good sister, being a good daughter, cousin, relative, an athlete, a student, it didn't matter. I just wanted to pour into this world and give love and be loved. That's all I wanted as a kid. I was called Jazzy. That was my nickname growing up, and it's equivalent to who I am and what my personality is. But I was a good kid, I seen things, I seen violence, I seen people suffering and in pain, death. A lot of people were dying when I was a kid. But despite what I saw, my heart saw different, always. I didn't want to be anything but joy and peace. That's it. And then it all kind of changed when I got to high school. This is when I realized how important the external and the internal aspect to who we are really makes a difference in our lived experience and the regulation. I was 16 when I had my first knee surgery. Yes, my first one. And around this time, I was dealing with a lot of identity issues, trying to figure out who I was going to be, a future around the corner that I was not prepared for. I didn't play AAU, so my resources were limited. I had to figure out how I was going to get to college. And then I was also starting to figure out who I was as a woman, dealing with my sexual orientation. And that was hard coming from a very traditional household. So I was just figuring it out, just a lot of responsibilities. And my first girlfriend at the time, which I don't recommend dating in high school, so if anybody's in here and you got kids or know somebody, tell them to stay away from it. But she was severely mentally ill, severely. I found myself at 17 making ambulance calls, visiting psych wards, and just dealing with somebody's pain that was way too much for myself and for herself. And it was hard because growing up in a traditional household, I wasn't really supported, I know they loved me, I know they cared about me, but it wasn't the love that I needed. It wasn't supportive in alignment to who I was. So it was hard dealing with my pain and also taking responsibility for somebody else's pain. But I'm grateful that it taught me a lot about mental health, and I was exposed to words I've never had any knowledge or language for: bipolar, schizophrenia, psychiatric. It was just a new world. We didn't talk about it growing up. I seen people suffer, but we didn't process it. We didn't name it. We didn't label it. We didn't discuss it. We treated it as a normal thing, but it's not normal. It's normal in the sense that we all deal with it, but it wasn't normal to not deal with it. People were suffering. It was dysfunctional, unhealthy. So after dealing with all this in high school, I went on a journey from 17 to 21 where I decided to educate myself, learn about the world around me, try to figure out how to support this person and also support myself, enjoy the journey, understand boundaries. At this point, I took independence. I chose independence. I wanted it. Autonomy is a high price to pay when you want to be free. So if you're thinking about it, just know you got to pay something really expensive before you actually are free. But I wanted it. I wanted support that was gonna align with who I was. I wasn't gonna settle for anything less, and still to this day, I won't settle for anything less. But I went on this journey, advocating for myself, advocating for the people around me, creating space. Then COVID hit. I was getting ready to have my second knee surgery, and I got COVID, and I was quarantined for about 16 days in a dormitory that was super outdated, old-fashioned. It was a big dorm, and it was just myself, me, myself, and I. Shout out Beyonce. But it was hard. I was lonely. I was super lonely, and I knew I needed help. And I needed the kind of help that was gonna make me not have to deal with what I was dealing with, you know? So I got a therapist. And this is a preference to everybody in this room. Therapy works. It works. It really do. And there's nothing wrong with it. And I encourage you to find a therapist that's gonna align with who you are, your beliefs, your frequency, your energy, before you just exclude it, because it works. My first therapist was just like me, black and gay, she. The other one was the total opposite of me, white and straight, and he saved my life. He really did. Everything I learned from those 2 to 3 years that I was with him is still saving me, and I've been removed from therapy for 3 years. But anyway, I did the work, emphasize. I did the work, I showed up. Every 3 weeks, for about 2 to 3 years, applying what I learned for myself and for the people around me, how to understand them better, how to love them better, how to love myself better, setting boundaries, because I knew I had to make sure I was okay and take care of myself without harming or doing damage to other people around me, because it matters. You matter, and I cared, so I did the work, still. And then it all hit. Like a Mike Tyson punch. It was the year 2022. June, I had my third knee surgery. And it wasn't just physical pain that I endured. I had a teammate who liked me, and she accused me falsely of sexual assault. And it wasn't the accusation that hurt me, because I knew people who've been abused and assaulted. And I would never do or tolerate any kind of that behavior. But it's how everybody around me reacted. Like my life didn't matter. That this accusation didn't paint the wrong description of who I was. Far from who I was. There was no justice. They heard the truth, they had evidence, but yet nobody wanted to say something. Behind closed doors, they wanted to say something, but when it mattered, they did not say anything. And I was trying to figure out why, because these are the people that said they loved me and cared about me. My friends, my teammates, they failed me. My coaches failed me. My university failed me. Everybody around me just was failing me. No integrity, no morals, no character. And it hurt. I was suffering in the dark and in silence, but also in front of everybody, trying to show up to practice knowing that nothing was being done. It hurt. And it kept hurting because nothing was being done. So I decided I can't be around this. I can't. That was my senior year at Cal. And I've been there since I was a freshman playing ball. And I decided to withdraw myself from my senior year. So I didn't get no senior night. And I love my university. We were trash. But I love my university. I had pride. I was proud. Regardless of what the score said, regardless of what the record was, I was proud. But the people, they didn't show up for me the way I showed up for them. So I decided to withdraw from that year, and since that point, everything just kind of went downhill. It was a lot of other experiences that played a part into that. I had to get a job, part of my scholarship was taken away. That was about an hour away from campus, had no car, that's a story for another time. You know, I had a relative during that time who was murdered. You know, and my family didn't really know what was going on because we didn't have that kind of relationship. So I was dealing with all this by myself. And then January 2023 to April 2023, I went manic. And for you all who is unaware, mania is when you're in a state of abnormal behavior from your typical behavior. High highs, low lows. You're agitated, you're irritated, you're happy one day, joyous one day, and the next thing you're depressed, dark, you want to fight the world. I didn't want to hurt myself, but I had death ideation. I wanted to see if heartbreak death was a real thing, that you can die from heartbreak, truthfully. Once I saw that everybody wasn't supporting me the way that I needed to, and they weren't there for me, I gave up on myself. But God did it. God had a different purpose. And I'll say this, I would not be here today if it wasn't for my Lord and Savior. I'm proud of that. There was nothing else. But during that time, I did a lot of things that does not align with who I was. I left my nephew in the park, and for that I am so sorry. So sorry. And I love you. But I did things that doesn't align with who I was. I spent a night in a jail cell, never been arrested. I went to 3 inpatient programs, 3 hospitals. The first one was 6 days. I hated it. I tried to escape. True story. I tried to escape. The second one, 12 days. Hated it. By the third time, I thought it was a vacation. And I loved it. Sometimes I miss it sometimes, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, it was hard. I was walking all times of the hours, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Before I went into my third hospital, I was in pajama pants and a sports bra and my college Leatherman jacket that I don't have anymore. Putting my parents in a stressful position, my family. It was hard. It was tough. It was dark. Dark days. And they just compounded itself. And then I survived by the grace of God. And from April 2023 to April 2024, I was depressed. Oh, I was depressed. For about 6 months, the first 6 months of that year, I was super, super depressed. I didn't know myself. I couldn't look at myself. I didn't know if I was gonna play basketball again. I was gaining weight. I just wasn't myself. Life was happening around me, but I was not living. It was hard. Because I was a kid, I was a person who just loved life. Who loved God, who loved my family, who loved my friends, who loved everything about what life had to offer. Laughter, joy, but it was dark. I didn't run away from the work though. If depression was gonna be what it was gonna be, depression was gonna be what it's gonna be. But it was dark, it was heavy. Reframing things, trying to heal. My environment wasn't necessarily allowing me to forget what I went through, so it was hard to really heal from that. But I did the work. I did the work. To speed up this story, I'll just say this. By the grace of God, I was supposed to graduate with my bachelor's in May. I graduated in December 2023 from UC Berkeley. Go Bears. I also was able to transfer and get my master's in education with a concentration in counseling and lead my team to a championship at San Diego State. And I also built this lovely thing called Mental Vision, this company that's trying to shift the culture around mental health awareness, because it matters. It matters. Now, I didn't tell you that story so y'all can feel sorry about me, because I'm not a victim. I'm just like you. We all go through it. We all are part of it. I didn't do that for that. Maybe I told you because maybe now my family stopped saying or stopped the allegations that I ain't never been through nothing. But no, I told you to emphasize the fact that I did the work. I did the internal work, the external work, yet I still suffered because of everybody's lack of work, lack of awareness, lack of care, lack of attention. I did the work in therapy for 2 to 3 years before I went manic. I did the work. I showed up in and out for myself and for the people around me. I did the work. I suffered because of everybody's lack of awareness, everybody's lack of care. Another part of the reason that I told you that story, because awareness requires the truth. It requires honesty, transparency. We're not supposed to live in the past, but we gotta recognize it. We gotta make sure we understand that it exists, so we don't repeat the same mistakes in our future and our present. Awareness requires the understanding of the whole story, who we are, what brought us up. Awareness is the enemy to triggers. When you're aware more, you have more control. We don't control a lot in this life, regardless of what you believe in, faithful or faithless. We don't control a lot in this life. But with awareness, we have a little bit of control. And in that control, we develop care for ourselves, care for the people around us. It matters. Statistically, did you know, to this day, there's been a recorded 400,000 suicides in the whole entire world. 400, almost 400,000. And 100,000 of that is in the United States. Did you know that? Did you know that 1 in 5 adults experience mental illness? And less of half of people actually get the help, get the treatment. Awareness is part of the diagnosis. There is no scan, there is no blood work to diagnose mental illness. It's about your habits, your routine, the people who know you, how well you know yourself. Because when things are unstable, it is required of those of you around you and within you to understand that you need the help. Awareness plays a part into care. More people can get the care if we have more awareness. You gotta think, medical providers provide care with the same stigmas and stereotypes that people think of. They don't believe it's real. They don't believe it's real. Because we don't advocate enough for it. We don't hold each other accountable enough for it. So the people that's supposed to help us don't believe in us. Ain't that something? And the stigmas and stereotypes, it's ridiculous because that means that a group has to be excluded from it. But nobody's excluded from mental illness. Whether you're male, female, black, white, gay, straight. Mental illness could come from genetically disposed, biological, societal, environmental. We all deal with it. Stress, betrayal, heartbreak, that leads to mental illness. Trauma, mental illness. It doesn't matter. We all have a responsibility. And not everybody's gonna be a mental health professional, even though we need more of those. There's not enough mental health professionals. Shout out to Scribble, shout out to Epiphany. But we need more mental health professionals. And if you don't wanna be a professional in your own life. Challenge those around you, challenge yourself to get to know yourself, to care about yourself. Your pain, your joy, clarity, confusion, wants, needs, be detailed, intricate. It takes work, yes. But it's a benefit to it. And I'm not trying to yell at y'all. Y'all my people. I care about every single one of y'all, even if I don't know you. We are all one under God's kingdom. That's what I believe in, regardless of what you believe in. I love you even if I don't know you. And I love you enough to say, do the work. There is no excuse. Kids are dying. Adults are dying. Elders dying. Awareness doesn't mean anything without action. Take some responsibility. There's people in this room, including myself, outside of this room who have a diagnosis. I'm glad. So when I tell people I'm crazy, they'll believe me. I'm glad. There's people outside of this room and in this room who's going undiagnosed. God saved me. God saved me. But I genuinely believe that somebody in this room or somebody attached to somebody in this room will be responsible of saving somebody else. And with awareness, we can do that. More lives can be saved. More people can be helped. It's a normal thing. It's a normal thing. Mental health is way more than just take a self-care day, check on your strong friends, be kind to one another because you don't know what's going on in somebody's life, and suicide. It's way more. What about the middle? Sleepless nights. I went 48 hours with no sleep before I went manic. And I know a lot of people like to joke, I haven't slept in a couple hours. I only got 3 hours of sleep. That's a problem. It's not something you should be excited about. It builds up. I get it. I work a lot. It's hard running a company. It's stressful. But I gotta take care of myself in order to take care of the people around me. It's a priority. It's a priority. one of you, every single one of you, kids, adults, whatever it is, whatever you identify yourself as, to really walk out of here and think about more. What can I be doing more to make my community feel safer, to make my life feel fuller? And if you can't do it for everybody around you, limit your relationships. Limit your relationships. Again, I suffered the most in my life based off other people's lack of work. Because I do it. I'm not afraid of it. I'll take ownership. I'll hold myself accountable. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Let's fix it. Because I'm doing the work. I know that how you feel is tied to something else. Let's do the work. I'm not ashamed of my diagnosis. It's not about perfection. It is a consistent commitment every single day. Mental health awareness is not for the crisis. It's for the every single day. It's a process. My purpose was built in my pain, and some of you may know that. But you can't have purpose without awareness, and you can't have awareness without purpose. I wrote something for myself that I would like for all of you to take it and adopt it for yourself, and I would like y'all to repeat after me. I was not born to be perfect. I was born to live in purpose. And as long as I'm living and breathing, I will always be in process. God bless you all. Take care of yourself. I love you all. Thank you.